of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, will be held on Thursday, February 27th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall, 22870 Priest Road, Sandy Oaks, Texas, where a quorum of the City Council will be present. All agenda items are subject to action. You could join us at the Zoom meeting in the agenda. The public will be permitted to offer public comments in person, telephonically, or by audio as provided by the agenda, and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting by signing up with the city secretary at least 15 minutes in advance of the meeting, if providing comments in person, and at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting by emailing the city secretary or by calling 210-607-0834 if speaking telephonically or by audio. An audio recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act upon written request. Let's see here. Our Mayor Pro Tem is not present. We have Alderman Tremblay.
Here.
Alderman Rapino.
Here.
Alderman Fillinger.
Here.
Alderwoman Madero.
Here.
Our City Secretary is not present. We do have a quorum. And our City Attorney is present. All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, citizens to be heard. Persons wishing to speak may sign up with the city secretary in the time and manner as indicated above. At this time, we do have Mr. Hector Guajardo signed up to speak. Mr. Guajardo, if you'd like to come to the front.
Sure. Well, I have come here to have a little issue on the neighbor. I bring some photos for the, I think to me it's a trailer burnout right next to my property. And I'm fixing to build a new home over there, and I'm sure I wanted that thing removed because it's going to be depreciating my new home. Yeah. I have the photos. You want to see them?
Yep, you can pass them on. Yep. Thank you. And I believe,
Want to see?
and this is in
What's the address?
3807 Waterwood Pass, is that correct?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. It's in our agenda, so that's what he's referring to, item
Okay.
7D. So we can pass these out when we get to the agenda item.
Yeah, that's all I want to say, you know, because it's building a new home across my automobile, and it's gonna be, I like to have a nice city, you know. I know people that can afford sometimes, but that one is complete, and they can live in it, you know. Nobody lives in there, all they do is accumulate more junk.
Understandable.
You know, so that's all I want to say, you know, just see if you can do something about it.
Okay.
And which item on our agenda is this, sir?
7D.
7D, so we'll be discussing later.
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Guajardo. All right. At this time, there are no other people signed up to speak, so we will go ahead and move forward. So updates and announcements. As a reminder, on March the 8th, we will have a bike ride coming through town on Priest Road and on Mathis. So for those folks that reside in those areas, please be aware. Please lock up your animals, contain your dogs, put them on a runner, keep them behind your fence. They're going to be coming in and out pretty quickly, so we just want to make sure it's the least eventful as possible getting through our town. Right? We don't want no bites, we don't want no scaries, we don't want no broken arms. Priest Road and Mathis are pretty narrow, not a whole lot of breakdown lanes, so the quicker we can get them in and out, the better for us. It also helps our traffic. So, as we talked about in the previous meeting, the City of Sandy Oaks does have a child representing Sandy Oaks in a Five Diamonds baseball parade. So that's going to be this Saturday. It's at 8 a.m. It's at Five Diamonds baseball field on South Flores. Everybody to the public is open to come and check it out, and we'll have Sandy Oaks PD in attendance. And so if you get a chance and you're up early on a Saturday morning, go ahead and stop by. And lastly,
Is that this Saturday?
That is this Saturday, yes, ma'am. And lastly, there is some unfortunate news to share. Our former city secretary, our current court clerk, did pass last night. And so, I mean, definitely a shock to the community and definitely a loss to the community. And so, we send our deepest condolences to the family. And, I will keep them in my prayers. If you can just continue to wish positive thoughts on them, keep them in your thoughts during this rough time, it would be greatly appreciated. If information comes to light that we can share as far as details for services, we'll share that if that's wished by the family. So what I want to do now is take just a moment to do a brief moment of silence for her. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered appropriately.
So the first two items are not ready for approval.
And why is that?
Sir, it would take an hour to discuss all the problems with those two meeting minutes.
Ma'am, if you can also then address with the city secretary throughout the 2 weeks that it takes to get to the next meeting, I'd like to get these items passed.
Absolutely.
But waiting until the day of,
Email them.
but waiting
the
until,
day after,
but
but
waiting
that's
until the
passed.
day of the meeting to say there's problems with them is not the resolution we need. I need solutions, not just pointing out a problem.
Yes, sir, and we can talk about
Thank
them
you.
after we do the consent agenda.
So you're saying A and B, you want to pull them, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely,
They were provided on Monday,
yes.
so I think 72 hours is more than enough time to review those.
So they're pulled or they're not?
I can, if somebody wants to make a motion, I'll entertain it.
Sir, I move that we remove agenda item A and B from the consent agenda, postpone it until our next regular meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by
I'll second.
Alderman Rapino to postpone consent agenda items A and B until the next regular meeting.
And then I move to approve the remaining items on the consent agenda.
All right, let me get a count first.
Okay.
So I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, that's unanimous. And then I do have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve items C through G. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Alderman Fillinger to approve items C through D. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving right along. Discuss under possible action on amending the personnel policy. Still working with that with ADP. Time's been a little short lately, so I will continue to work through that. Hopefully have an update by the next meeting. So that will be postponed. Okay, discuss under possible action on ordinance number 2025-248, establishing regulations for the certificates of occupancy, the second reading. As requested in the previous meeting, there was a request for the permit to be developed. That should be in your agenda packet. It did get cut off, I think. So I'll have to modify that to move it around a little bit. But if you'd like to take a look at all of that.
Just a question, what is this Knox box?
Knox box is for, it's like if the police come in and they need to get in, they honk at it at a certain pitch and the lock unlock releases.
It only works for the police, everybody else can't.
Right.
Honk up and honk.
Right, now you can't honk your normal horn at it.
Oh, okay.
Chief, is that correct? Is that the right understanding?
Oh, sorry, I was marking down who motioned and who.
No, you're fine. Knox box.
Okay,
A Knox box? Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
Okay, that's more of a fire thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we have one on our gate. So if the fire department needs to get in here and obviously they don't have access, they ring their siren and then the lock unlocks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So is it between who actually is going to determine the occupancy?
Yeah, so it will be an external company that we would bring in. I'm still working through that, trying to figure out who it's going to be. Got a lot of calls out, still waiting on returns. So that will be externally sourced. Yeah.
You are going to relocate some items on here, you saying?
I
Got
c-
cut off to the side?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
the first one the permit number is just a little far to the right, so I want to move that. But yeah, if there's something else that you want to move or change.
Yeah. It blew out in my face here. There we go. Agenda item, or not agenda item, but item number 17. We need to strike the Universal City Fire Department
Okay.
and insert the appropriate verbiage.
Oh, we should look into it.
Yeah. I think it would be what Bear County ESD 6.
Can we just say fire department? Do we need to specify
Yeah,
which
that's
one?
fine.
That way whoever comes out. Generic.
Yep, fire department. Yep. So we'll just strike out Universal City. Is that a motion by Alderman Fillinger to strike out Universal City on item 17? May I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderwoman Madero to strike out Universal City on item 17. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Continue reading.
I just have a comment of something in the application that may need to be clarified in the ordinance. On the first page where it's bolded, certificates of occupancy are not transferable from one person to another or an entity. That's not necessarily how the ordinance is written. The ordinance talks only about new commercial buildings or existing buildings that are structurally changed or significantly changed. So that could be a new owner. So the ordinance may need to be amended, or the draft ordinance may need to be amended to reflect what is in the permit. That's
Okay.
what council.
Personally, I do believe that it should not be transferable from one business to another unless, right, the stipulation that I have a restaurant and I'm gonna sell it to Tom and he's gonna operate it the exact same way, right? So if we're saying we're not changing arrangements, no, we're not remodeling, but to get around that, it could be it's just not transferable and a new permit will need to be issued. I think that's a good way to go about it. Because then we get into the caveats of, well, you moved your kitchen to have a little bit more square footage or a little bit less, and now we're no longer the same occupancy load.
Yeah, because even if he intends to use it the same way, when he buys your restaurant,
He
he
could do
might
whatever he
decide
wants.
to change something.
Exactly. So
I understand the
if we can add that to the ordinance, would that mess up our second reading?
No, you
No.
could make the
You can
amendments.
make the amendments.
No,
Okay.
we can amend on second reading.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation on where you would insert that?
Are you asking me or Alderman?
I'm asking
Bellinger?
you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Under section 3, under general and procedures for certificate of occupancy, part B, and section 2.
Under 3B and 2?
Sorry, section 2, section 3A, and section 3B.
So in a sense, the motion will be to insert a clause into section 2, 3A and B that explains that certificates of occupancy are not transferable from one person to another.
I
Or
don't
from
see
one.
Section 4 or 5.
Oh, yeah, I'm missing it too.
Yes, I'm looking on my.
You're right.
They just have
Yeah.
3 and then it goes to 6.
We can postpone. Let's postpone this one since we don't
Okay,
have
so
the.
I move to postpone, this agenda item till our next regular business meeting.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All right, motion to postpone agenda item 6B. I will go ahead and do that. Moving on to the next item. Discuss under possible action on ordinance number 2025-250, amending ordinance 2019-150, regulating commercial motor vehicles.
So I believe the last meeting we waived the second reading on this item.
Yes,
Yes, sir. It was supposed to be an animal control ordinance on here for the second reading, not this one.
So we can pull that.
Okay. All right, well then, let's move on to agenda item. So then, I do need to get an animal ordinance, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know that ordinance number?
Not the new one.
Okay,
The old one's 246.
okay. Animal control. All right,
No, 236. I'm sorry, not
236. Okay.
236.
I'll find it. All right, so agenda item 7A, discuss under possible action on abatement of property 23322 Copper Canyon Drive, Sandy Oaks, Texas, 78112. So as it's been discussed previously, I think we want to move forward with the abatement of this property as discussed. I think what we want to do today is just kind of discuss the process, and then we can start, based off of the recommendations from Cassandra, we can start issuing out letters to go ahead and proceed, and then kind of, can we walk through the timeline?
Just one quick question. I understand that this says we have the right to go and do that, but does the fact that they've issued a citation and impact any of that process or our ability to act on it, since a warning and citation has been sent to the individual, would be my only concern.
Well, the citation would be more in the court area and it'd be resolved.
Because the
in-
mess was there, he gets the
Yes.
court. So that's totally separate. It doesn't prevent us from going out and cleaning up because he didn't clean it up.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to ask that question, please. Continue, sorry.
So administratively, the city, the mayor, what we've done in the past is, I'm gonna turn this on. The mayor has issued a notice, given notice or, a warning to the owner that they need to clean up the property and abate the nuisance. They give them a certain amount of time, usually not to exceed 30 days, where they have time to remedy that based on what the nuisance actually is. And if they do not, then the city can go and abate the property. Sometimes we need a warrant, or administrative warrant to get onto the property and do that. And that is usually through the municipal court judge. And if they don't, and then the city can abate and assess a lien on the property for the amount of expenses that the city incurred for abating the property, and interest on that lien as well, or on that abatement, or those expenses as well, filed with the county. And the lien is second to any tax liens. We have been paid back on some liens that the city has accessed. I believe the two that we have done, we've been paid back when the property has
Sales.
usually been for sale.
Correct.
So sometimes it takes several years to get paid back on that, but the city has been paid back. So that is
That's
the process
interesting.
for a nuisance.
I have a question about that. I know we can't proceed to prosecute a lien on a homestead exemption. If it's a vacant property, but they don't have an exemption, can we force that lien through the courts, or it just has to sit there until they settle it?
It usually sits there until they settle it.
The most recent one, Charles, is our Alderman Fillinger. The most recent one was just a vacant lot. Well, the structure burned, and then we paid to have it removed.
Right.
And so it's set as a vacant lot. So not exactly your situation that you're talking about, now that I think about it.
Well,
Yeah.
here's, unless the property goes up for a tax sale, you can't force a lien on a homesteaded property. But without that exemption, I don't think we have to wait for a tax sale to prosecute that lien.
You can't put a lien on a property with a homestead exemption?
You can put the lien on it, but you can't take the property as long as that person is homesteading that property.
Oh, you can't take it.
Uh,
Oh, okay,
other
but you can
than-
put the lien on it.
Other than at a tax sale.
Okay, but you can put the lien
Okay.
on it.
But, yeah, you can place the lien on it.
Okay.
If they want to sell out, they have. to
No,
deal
that
with-
makes sense to me. I just didn't understand your statement that we couldn't put a lien on it just because it was a
No,
homesteaded.
we can put
So,
the lien on it, but it won't be prosecuted with, on a homestead. But I think on a non-homestead property, that we can prosecute that lien and seize the property. I don't think we should be in a place where, other than a homesteaded property, we ought to be toting that lien for,
4 years.
4 or 5
Yeah.
or 6 or 7 years.
I
I'll
mean-
be real honest, I'm not worried about a 20-year program. But,
Yeah. It does pay
okay,
interest
so
though.
you're concerned whether or not we can actually
Get paid.
force the property,
Well,
take possession of the property if the lien exists on the property for too long.
yeah,
Okay, Cassandra?
That's something I've never handled. It's usually just been the lien on the property, so I'd have to look into it a little further to see what that timeline would be.
well, and my thought is, like, we budgeted $15,000 for abatement projects this year. It wouldn't take many properties to burn up $15,000 in abatement.
Right.
It's not a cheap process. So the vacant lot we were talking about earlier, when we did that work out, it was anywhere from $900 to $3,000. So, it won't take long to burn up that budget.
Right.
And I don't see us putting $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a year into a budget, and we can look at a payback in maybe 4 or 5, whatever.
Makes sense.
And like I say, on a homestead property, we're gonna eat that lien until either the owners pass or the property goes up for sale. But many of the properties that need abatement here, like we're talking about Copper Canyon, it's a vacant lot, and it's cheaper for him to buy that lot and use it for his private dump.
So you're just
Yeah.
saying before we spend the money on the
No, I-
abatement, and you would like to know whether, from
Well,
Cassandra
no.
to do a little research and find out if
No,
we have that
We need to
possibility?
abate it.
No, we need
We're
to abate it,
responsible.
but
Yes, we do.
I would like
So-
to get an answer. Can we force the lien on a non-homesteaded property?
Okay,
So-
but,
So I
But
think,
you
that
still
I
wanna
think,
go ahead.
I think, yeah, the
But
process
neither here
is,
nor there, we,
right, I think what it sounds like, right, is we should go ahead and send out the letter, right? Because we're
Yes.
gonna have to. Let's get the clock started.
well.
Then, in the meantime,
He's had his first warning
Sure.
with the chief's warning. He gave him 10 days, then he issued a citation. Now we need to deal with, let's send him the letter. You have 10 days to abate it, or contact us. If he calls and says, I can't do it in 10 days, but I can do it in 30 days, I would give him the 30 days.
Yeah. and then in the meantime, we'll figure out if we can force the
But,
lien.
in the meantime, every Monday morning, I drive over there and I call him up and say, hey, you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a fair plan.
So do we need a motion to move forward on this?
No, because I can do it.
Because you just would do the letter saying,
Yep.
hey, here's your 10-day notice,
Yep.
and see what he does, and then bring it back to the council, let us know what he does before
Now
we spend
that-
any money on abatement.
Right.
And get an answer from our city attorney on the process. Well, that
Right.
makes sense to me.
Does that sound right? Yeah. All right. So then we'll go ahead and let's work together tomorrow or something to get that letter out. And then we'll move forward with that. All right. All right, moving on to agenda item 7B, discussion of a possible action on ordinance 2020-170, declaring and establishing public health nuisances and providing for abatement, declaring junk vehicles a public nuisance and providing for abatements. 2020-170, so this was just an opportunity to take a look at your ordinance and see if we're still in agreement.
Do you feel like there's going to be edits needed, sir?
I mean, in my level of review, at my review, I didn't think so. I mean, I think everything still pretty much is applicable.
It looked pretty clear and straightforward to me.
And so now it's just, really it's just reinforcing it, right? I think that's really the biggest concern. And
Okay.
And this is irrelevant of whether or not the police department issues any kind of citation or warning to him. We can just take this action.
He can take the
Well,
action.
actually,
I'm sorry?
He can take the action. As a police chief, he can take the action based on the ordinance.
Correct, but if the mayor wants to do it, he can do it regardless of what the
Well,
police department
not
is.
this-
let's,
That's what I'm asking. Does the police department need to do something first?
oh, I see what
I think, and it's just me speaking, we're talking about the difference between criminal and civil.
That's what
Okay.
I'm trying to understand, yes.
All right. A city ordinance is a law,
Yes.
okay? Violating a city ordinance is a criminal action. And our peace officers can go and using their best judgment, speak to the individual, you need to do this. If they don't want to comply, they can write a citation. The civil side of it, the abatements and the liens, we can't put that on our peace officers because it's a time-consuming
I understand all
task
that, but my question is, do we need to take you violated this ordinance, give them a citation before the mayor can make a decision to go do the abatement? That was my question.
Okay, no, we don't have to wait for that because we can't tell the chief, you need to go write him a citation.
Or a warning or anything,
Or-
but we could just
or
make the
warning,
decision that this has been
or-
sitting there,
But
the
if
mayor's
we
gonna
want
take
to
action.
abate the property, yes, we take
Okay,
that on.
that was my question.
There is some crosswise here, because dealing with junk vehicles, which this addresses, a junk motor vehicle is, city council cannot do the procedure on a junk vehicle. It has to be a full-time employee of the city that does the procedural work on that. And most logically, that full-time employee would be one of our peace officers. They talk about transportation code, and I don't remember it off the top of my head. I want to say,
Well, now that you mention that, I am looking and I do see one thing that would need to be fixed in the ordinance. It does say city marshal.
well, not necessarily, because when we created the police department, we transferred all the marshal duties to the chief. police.
Okay, well then that's fine, because it says our designee. Then that makes sense, because the junk vehicle portion is clearly laid out on here, that the police needs to do that. That's why I was wondering if we needed to take police action before the mayor can do his letter,
We
the
shouldn't
process
have
that
to-
the city.
council shouldn't have to address it.
No,
The
but-
chief
No.
of police has all the power to enforce
But
that.
again, the
ordinance.
Right, but the
transportation.
mayor can also, under the thing that, the city attorney explained, can also just send a letter saying you need to abate. I was just wondering whether the police department need to take action to enforce the ordinance before we take action to go, before the mayor takes action to go abate. That's all the question was. I don't know why this is leading to such a big question, conversation.
For the attorney.
So it was just a simple question. So, to Sandra. Does the police department need to do something before the mayor can take action to abate under this ordinance, those things that he's allowed to abate?
No, that does not need to happen first.
Thank you.
Did you have another question?
That covers it.
All right. Do we have any more discussion?
No, I just wanted to.
No, I'm looking at everybody, not just
Yeah,
you.
it just because there were some things of specifically police department, but not on everything, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't implied on everything.
So no actions on 7B? We could move along?
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
As long as the city marshal jobs are passed to the police chief, when you guys did that, that was years ago,
That was
before your time.
when I was a spring chicken. I remember 10 years ago, sitting at home and seeing that this place became a city. That's why I say that. So it was in the news as headlines. Discuss it or possible action. Moving on to 7C, discuss it or possible action on ordinance 2022-205, providing regulations for the storage and parking of recreational vehicles and providing for removal and impoundment of recreational vehicles. Alderman Fillinger, Alderman Tremblay, you do have the floor.
Okay, as we were speaking of a few minutes ago, section 4, paragraph B, states any official of the city or any peace officer or any agent of the city is given authority to tow or cause to be towed to a city impound lot or other place designated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, transportation code specifies that it has to be a peace officer or a full-time city employee. City officials are not city employees, so we have no business prosecuting this. I think we need to amend it to specify the that this authority to tow is only with our police department.
So in section 4, item B,
So,
potentially we would say, we would strike out official of the city or also strike out any agent of the city to read any peace officer or full-time city employee is given authority to tow. Is that,
Our clause.
I would be very, very hesitant to say any
Full-time.
full-time city employee. For the simple reason that if you go into the transportation code and look at what has to happen, the person doing the procedural work on this has to have access to the police department's computers, because there's a whole long process, and I'm sure the chief will tell us, y'all got no business getting into that. And I don't believe any other full-time employee of the city,
Would know
other than a peace officer,
yeah.
should be dealing with this.
So then maybe any full-time peace officer? Because if they're part-time, I mean, they're probably a reserve, and
They should have, they would have the same.
they would still have the same.
Yeah.
So any
reserve
peace officer-
has the training and the ability
They have
to
the same
do that.
authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any peace officer? should probably be the only line it reads.
Actually, you can put any Sandy Oaks Police Department officer. Because Bear County is not gonna enforce this ordinance, nor is a state trooper or a constable or a police or a school officer.
All right, so then we would strike basically the first line up until city to read then, or insert any Sandy Oaks police officer is given authority to tow or cause to tow.
Would you like a motion, sir?
I would if that's the motion.
Okay. I move that we amend section 4, paragraph B, striking official of the city or any peace officer or any agent of the city, and inserting any Sandy Oaks Police Department officer.
Okay, so I have a motion by Alderman Fillinger to strike official of the city or any peace officer or any agent of the city and insert Sandy Oaks Police Department officer. May I get a second?
Second.
So first by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Tremblay. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Is there any other?
This doesn't have it, but the red line version that you emailed on Monday night indicated that in section 2, paragraph D, the word "in" was inserted before "any." Is that correct, Cassandra? Yeah. So it's not in this version, just want to make sure everybody knows that it was in the red line version that we received with our package, but not this version.
Well, you said it was section 4?
Section 2, paragraph D,
2.
at the very end, it says comma, any 6-month period. That was changed to say
And,
in any 6-month period.
oh,
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a typo, so in the red line included the in,
okay.
where it just said consecutive days, comma, any 6-month period.
So then let's just insert, somebody would like to make a motion.
You wrote that.
But it was in the draft version we received in the email. Why do we need to? It's already been inserted in the draft version. We don't want to change it from the draft version we received. I like the way the draft version was received.
When it
It's
says
just-
in.
This isn't the red line version.
Gotcha,
This
gotcha.
is the original version, not the draft version that she provided. The draft version, I believe, is the one that we should be addressing in this council meeting and
Okay,
making any changes to that draft version.
gotcha.
Because it will be a new ordinance, won't it?
So, and I think those were the only 2 edits.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Oh, and other than section 5, just changing the ordinance numbers from the repealing ordinance 2016
Right. So the
to
2
2022 205.
Yes. Yeah, so it's just the wrong copy we have in our package, but we received the correct information in your email,
That's correct.
so.
Okay.
All right, then I move to accept the draft ordinance number to be determined, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, amending ordinance number 2022-205, providing regulations for the storage and parking of recreational vehicles within the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, as amended.
With the second reading and publication.
We don't have to specify second reading, that's automatically required by our ordinance.
If we don't call out for publication, it'll go through the cracks.
It's not published till after the second reading, so that should be addressed later. That's my motion.
Anybody want a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, I got a motion by Alderwoman Madero and a second by Alderman Tremblay to accept the ordinance as presented with the updated ordinance number to be determined. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, amending ordinance number 2016-257, providing regulations for the storage and parking of recreational vehicles within the city of Sandy Oaks, Texas, providing for removal and impoundment of recreational vehicles on city streets, providing for a repealing clause, providing for a penalty, providing for severability, providing an effective date, and providing for publication. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
All those opposed? All right. All right, that was 7C. Discuss under possible action on abatement, public nuisance, and our substandard structure at 3807 Waterwood Press, Sandy Oaks, Texas, 78112. Alderman Tremblay, Alderman Fillinger, you do have the floor.
This is another example of the vacant property being used to dump stuff. You did this mobile burned over a year ago, and it's yet to be repaired, remodeled, rebuilt, what have you. And I think I gave everybody in the package, should have got a packet on BCAD appraisal, what the BCAD is appraising it at. But if we look at this, last
point of
year,
order. Would you tell the gentleman he can ask to address council?
Sir.
correctly?
At this time, you're not able to address council, but we will,
I am the owner of that property.
understood, and I will allow you to speak when the time is appropriate, but during the meeting, unfortunately not.
I wasn't able to get a wording, sorry.
I understand, but we'll give you a moment when the time's right. Just bear with us. All right, go ahead.
okay, so the BCAD has the improvement side at $11,000. Although the 2025 appraisals haven't been come out yet. I'm sure they're going to drop that again from that 11. But regardless of the fact that or the value of it, there are multiple ordinance violations on this property. First, speaking about 2016-60, and I'm starting to give everybody copies of these ordinances, but 2016-60 is the ordinance that was, again, goes back to 2016 and deals with the treatment of dangerous and unsafe buildings. This is definitely a dangerous and unsafe building. The trailer itself is burned beyond 50% reconstructive cost, I believe. They're burned chicken coop. There's an accumulation of trash. There is an unregistered RV in the driveway. I'm not sure if utilities are connected to it or not. But this is not a homestead property. It is there are no exemptions on the property. But so I'm making a motion that we abate this property as well as the one on Copper Canyon, that we go ahead and initiate the abatement on this property. Mr. Guajardo addressed the council. If we could pass those photos around, if everybody can get an idea what this property looks like. He's wanting to build a home next door as an investment to sell, and I doubt that anyone would want to purchase a home having this next door. So I think it's in the city's purview. It's our responsibility to do something here for to clean this property up. And again, and it's at the entrance of the city. If you notice, there's several homes being built at the entrance of the city. So that's pretty much what my assessment is of the property. I think it's a dangerous structure. It's unsafe. There's storage of RV there. There's it's just an accumulation of junk, trash. So that's my take on it. I would move that we initiate abatement of this property.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Tremblay to initiate the abatement process on,
So I would suggest the procedures for abatement, because if it is a building on the property, we do have to hold a hearing for it.
But again, it's not a homestead.
It's a structure, so I think.
Mobile.
So there may need to be a hearing. So that's why I'm saying procedures. That way, we can identify all the violations and what needs to be abated, and then follow the procedures that need to be
Okay,
followed.
as long as we can initiate the process.
So the same internally as the previous item where the mayor initiates administratively,
Yes.
and then anything that needs to come before council
If
for
he's-
approval can come before
I
council.
believe the chief may be able to chime in. I believe he's given notices and warnings and citations for that property.
On that property, I went by there last week to try and make an attempt. I'm hoping to go by there today, but if he's here today, so I can speak to him today when we get out.
But yeah, I want to initiate the process. Mr. Guajardo would like to get started on building that home next door. So, I think we should move forward and address it so that he can build a home that will be profitable for him and for the city.
Yeah.
Tax base.
So, I mean, we don't really need a motion, right? Because then we're just gonna go ahead and initiate the process to begin contacting and making an assessment. Is
Yes.
that right? Okay.
So what is the second document in here?
That was a sample notice to violation.
So this is just a sample?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then I will kick off that process with our city attorney. All right, agenda item 7E, discuss and possible action on working with residents to beautify Sandy Oaks main entrance. So while not on the list are, Mr. Tomasini, right? Sorry, got that mixed up. Yeah. He did reach out to me the other day, has been actually reaching out pretty regularly to do something to the entrance of the city and basically to the structure right next to the Valero. He'd like to invest some of his time and would like the city's support. So, Mr. Tomasini, if you'd like to kind of speak about what your kind of plan is or vision is, you do have a moment to kind of
Well,
address that.
just to start with, just the raised bed that's farthest into the city, there's two, I think there's three.
Yeah, there's,
Or, I think there's three, there's the one farthest into the city,
right.
because I think there won't be any buried water or electrical there.
The front one does have water and
Oh,
electric, yeah.
Because there used to be a guardhouse and a fountain there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I don't think the one in the back.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think you're
Are you
right.
talking about the main entrance
Yeah.
to the city? Okay.
Yeah.
It's been an
Because I
eyesore
don't
forever.
want, I don't want to start anything too big, I can't do it myself, because I don't want the Public Works to have to be involved, because I don't want, unless they want to, but, it starts off small with it. And I can supply the plants, the soil, and any labor. The only thing I might have to have help with is when I dig holes to put stuff in, I may have to have some of that hauled away. But what I'm gonna do is put big pots in there. So
Yeah.
that, in the holes that I dig, so that I can put
Extract.
them in and get them out easy. That way, try to have something in there that's always blooming all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not just
Makes
stuff
sense.
that's out of season and just sitting there.
Right, dormant. That makes sense.
And I'll try to, I won't keep it too high, so that you can see across. If it gets too high, I'll just remove it.
Yeah, I think small little flowers or things like that would be sufficient. My opinion is that we would supply you the materials, right? The flowers and the soil, that should not be at your expense. But, I mean, if you're coming up to say you'd provide the labor, I'm pretty sure we'd be happy to deliver the materials, but that's up for discussion. Thank you, sir.
The only thing that I'm concerned with, and I appreciate what you want to do, Doug, I appreciate it. The only thing the thing we need to think about is a waiver for liability. Being that he's gonna be working right on the
street.
roadway, we need
Yeah.
to,
And we have one,
we'll have to have him do a waiver.
we do
Excuse
have
me?
waivers.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
If you give me some cones, I'll even take the cones.
So do we have it in the budget to buy the supplies for this
We have-
beautification of the city?
Not necessarily beautification, but we have building funds, that it's a part of our,
Most of, I have the plants, most of them. They're already in pots, so
Mr. Tomasini raises plants at his home
oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and he
Trades-
supplied stuff before.
trades and sells plants and,
okay.
most of them I give away.
so,
I don't make any money.
Can I say it?
Sure.
Sign the waiver and carry on.
Yeah.
You have my phone number, call me if you need a hand.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. Except on every weekend for the next 6 months, so. All right, good job, good job. All right, moving on to agenda item 7F. Executive session to deliberate the hiring of a deputy clerk and related matters pursuant to Texas Open Meeting Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters. Time is now 7:22. We are in executive session.
Recording stopped.
Leave your mics.
That you
Leave
push
your
to turn
mics.
on, do you need to stop that thing too?
It's stopped.
And then the
Oh, this one?
the thingy that
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't figure out how to turn on.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
1930.
All right, it is now 7:39. We are back in session. Moving to agenda item 7G.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that the mayor be authorized to negotiate employment with Jeremy Fernandez, offering a position of deputy clerk, starting at $45,000 a year, standard employment package, and a start date as you negotiate.
Okay, so the motion
I'll
by,
second.
all right, the motion by Alderman Fillinger and seconded by Alderman Rapino is to offer the deputy clerk position to Jeremy Fernandez, beginning with the salary of $45,000 with the standard employee package, with a start date to be negotiated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm
All right, all those opposed, that passes unanimously. That there ends the discussion for agenda item G.
Mayor, I move to adjourn.
It is now 7:40, we are adjourned.
What about the woman?
No.
We'll do that later.
Yeah.